You mostly see the total addressable market, people putting just a number and then putting half of the world there. Just saying half of the world is using AI.
Okay, so you touched that very sensitive word for me, AI. I've seen that word being abused left, right, and center because either they think that investors don't know, and actually 70% of the times they are correct. Investors have no idea about what AI is. If you go deep into the solutions, you'll realize that it doesn't even need AI. Even if it had AI, it doesn't need AI for it to solve the problem. Mostly, I see people deviating to many domains when they're building a product. That this serve this domain as well, this domain as well, this domain as well. You cannot sell to every domain. You have to focus on 2 or maximum 3 domains to sell it to. So there is one thing that's called a pull, and the other thing is called a push. If you're pushing to the side, but you're getting pulled from the other side, you should know at what point of time you should concentrate on the pull. People say the founders should be very, stubborn with their idea and all, but I think they have to be a paradox in themselves. They have to have a very strong belief in what they're building. At the same time, they have to see how the market is perceiving them, and they have to be egoless there. It's simple, but it's not easy. If you can get the customer's word of mouth referral, no investor can turn that down. Even if it's not in their thesis, if you tell a high-end investor that, boss, I started off with a very broken idea, but I have 35 paying customers within 6 months. He will not challenge you on the idea, on the execution, on strength of your founding teams. He or she will only look at whatever he said. If he's converted it, how does it matter what I'm thinking? This guy is making money. Let me be a part of this growth journey, this success journey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pivot Point with Usha. Today, we have Anshul Saxena. He's an investor. He has over 2 decades of experience scaling SaaS, fintech, and digital businesses, not just in India, but globally. He has mentored more than 100 startups till now across 5 continents, and he has raised over 50 million in funding. He has also been a head of Financial Inclusion Lab, which was an initiative by JP Morgan, Gates Foundation. And he has led high impact roles at companies like Airtel, Xscale, and his first company was acquired for $750 million in US. So let's talk to him about how tech startups can raise funds in the current scenario, how they can find the right investors, how they can pitch right, and what they can look for while raising funds, specifically for companies who are pre-revenue. Let's understand what he looks in companies before investing. What are the things that he would suggest to companies, to founders who are doing things wrong? Let's talk to him and understand from an investor's POV how a founder needs to pitch and what are the things that he needs to correct in his pitch. What actually an investor is looking for in a founder when they are building in tech. Also, we'll understand how is the tech landscape right now in India compared to overseas. Let's get started. You hear so many pitches from the founders on literally every day. What are the things that, the top 3 things that you think these founders need to be more prepared with when they are coming to investor pitches?
So there's a difference. If you're talking to founders in India, you generally have a very solid founding team in terms of tech and in terms of non-tech partners. You don't see tech partners in many other countries as easily you see in India. So that's a big advantage that we have in India. The three things that we look at is why are they building that solution, right? What is the impact that they perceive? Secondly, we look at the relevant experience these guys have on their own and between themselves. Because see, many startups fail because of the friction between the founders, right? And the third thing we look at is, and we find missing in many cases, I'll be honest, is the awareness about competition. All of them, literally all of them, 99.9% of them compare themselves to biggies, right? And they say that they don't have this and we are building this. That's fine. You saw a gap because these companies are public. The information about them is public. So you found some gaps, you use the products, you found gaps. But what you're not aware of or what you did not research very deeply on is your immediate competition. Companies that are 2 or 3 years ahead of you. Why are you not focusing on them also? Because they, one, can be a good collaborative partner for you. Say, for example, these guys could be very solid in one region and you could complement them in some other region. Or you have built some kind of feature that could be easily plugged into their system and you can sell it as a whole. And thirdly, they might have faced some failures which you can learn from vicariously. You don't have to comment those failures. But almost in all the pitches, I am very saddened by their awareness about the competition, and the projections uh, also are like, I mean, everybody thinks that they can occupy the entire serviceable market for themselves, and there is no problem there. And that kind of speaks about the immaturity that they have. And that's where I again tell my fellow investors and peers that, having some kind of experience, having some kind of maturity always helps. You can't just go out raw there and not understand the dynamics of the market on the ground level and just pitch that I'll be $1 billion company in say 5 7 years. With literally, I don't look at the projections at all. I have stopped believing in that slide altogether. There is no point. I'd rather do my own research and
Yeah.
find that out rather than looking at that exaggerated claims and just laughing at them. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And are there any golden percentages that usually founders need to look at? For example, when they are showing the whole Samsung slide, the whole, about the market, competitor studies, I mean, whole based on research that they need to, spend their time and resources on. But what about the other slides? Are there any golden ratios or percentages that they can follow?
When you say market cap or market size, I don't believe in Tam SOMs because they are usually, so if you're taking it from very authentic reports, that's fine. But if you just take it from there and you have not done your primary research on that kind of market, you have not gone there, met your customers or your end customers, and not realized the level of problem that they are facing for the solution that you're building, then it's all futile because it happened with us also. We thought our software was to be used in a certain way, right? But when we went to the clients, when we went to the customers and realized that they are using it in a very versatile, multi-screen way, our entire concept of building that product or the UI UX for it changed, and that became a one big thing. Secondly, you also have to listen to the market conditions, right? For example, when we were building a product, we were looking at only origination of loans. We were not looking at servicing of loans, right? When we realized that, okay, the volume will increase because people are looking at getting the loans serviced. And if we can be in that market, that's a huge market to capture now. We had not done any tam-sam songs on that, but we realized that every being out there sitting with the appraiser, loan officers, we realize every second or third person is coming for servicing their loans, right? This you cannot get in any report or as convincingly. But if you're there or your team is there and they are witnessing it, and then you're coming back, and which is called design thinking way of doing things, right? That really changes. So I'd say, to to keep things simple, if you're building a product, the first 40 to 50 target profile customers that you interview will give you a lot of insights. After the first 50, it's there is a law of diminishing returns, right? You will not get 50 unique insights. You'll get out of every 50, you'll get 10 or 15 unique insights. So that's when you realize that, okay, I am at a good point here. I've gathered enough sample data. It's not as exhaustive as a Cochrane's formula would tell you, but it is enough for me to tell ki, okay, in this region for this target profile, these many number of customers voice the same problem time and again. You start seeing repeated patterns, and I think that becomes your very solid primary research that you should go with.
That is very, I think the correct way to go about it, because I have mostly seen, and I think we would agree on this, we would mostly see the total addressable market, people putting just a number and then putting half of the world there, just saying half of the world is using AI, so why not?
Okay, so you touched that very sensitive word for me, AI, and I've seen that word being abused left, right, and center since the last 1.5 2 years. And I feel sad for such pitches because either they think that investors don't know, and actually 70% of the times they are correct. Investors have no idea about what AI is. You say AI, I say AI, it's a buzzword. We catch on to that thread, and the world seems like a very good place. But half the time, it's just plain statistics. It's just plain mathematics, formulas, patterns, which you are masking as AI. And if you go deep into the solutions, you'll realize that it doesn't even need AI. Even if it had AI, it doesn't need AI for it to solve the problem. So one thing I would really say, and this is a problem on both the sides, for founders, do not abuse the word AI because It's okay. It's fine if the product is good and you can later on embed some AI into it. It's perfectly fine. Because AI is only for me is only an enabler, is not an ends to any means, at least for now. So let's not think that the investor is a fool and start abusing the term AI. At the same time, I would also like the investors to do some bit of homework, and look beyond chat GPTs and all, right? I mean, the best argument I have heard from investors at many points is, "ये तो chat GPT भी कर लेगा." That's the world has gone far beyond chat GPT, right? I mean, educate yourself, grow, because we'll be left far behind. So as investors or as your investment research team, know what AI is, know what non-AI products are, and then it'll be ask the right questions. There are stupid questions, there are stupid answers, right? Let's not fool each other that every question is important. It's not. You have to do your own study before you come out and ask those relevant questions. So one is that, and also, you have to really ask the question about what need is AI fulfilling in that product, right? I mean, is it crashing your timelines to get the job done? Is it decreasing your costs? Is it doing something fantastically different for you? If it's an incremental gain, it's of no value, because anyways the solution will get better. So AI has to be used in a very discretionary manner, and even the ecosystem has to realize what is AI, what is not AI. I've seen solutions being sold in the name of AI at inflated price points, and then everybody is losing out, because ultimately, when you blow up a value without any concrete substance, it has to come crashing down. So I'm very much afraid of the dot internet boom that happened during that time, and the fintech boom also that happened, and then markets crashed. This is something we can really safeguard ourselves, because it is the third or fourth time we are going through that circle of booms and busts, basically.
Yeah, and I was about to ask actually what you answered. I was about to ask you when a product or when a founder can add the AI thing to the deck and say that we actually have some AI integrated into it. So you just answered it.
Yeah, yeah, I think.
And you were talking about the bubble and the boom. And one of the things that a lot of people keep reading about and writing about is the AI bubble is also very near now. What do you think about it?
So if you keep building the same kind of solutions with a little different facade to it, you're bound to, I mean, the market corrects itself, right? Sooner or later, people realize that I'm getting the same kind of solutions for demos as an investor, or as a consumer, or as a client. And there is not much difference, because let's just juxtapose it to the fintech world that we saw. The cycle of fintech startups, growing up. Most of them were about underwriting algorithms, having major parameters, numerous parameters to judge whether a person is credit worthy or not. And then it started to get saturated. There was hardly any new parameter you could bring to the market, or new analysis you could bring to the fintech world. And this is something similar we are, seeing in AI. Most of them are doing some RAG kind of a thing. Instead of chatbots, you're building much more friendlier RAG systems, much more natural language processed, helper support systems. That's fine. But are you really, building something very transformational? Very few startups are doing that. But yes, having said that, see, I do see a lot of innovative things happening in the space tech market, in the defense tech market, where really AI is enabling you to safeguard lives, right? If you can do simulations through AI and you don't have to do it physically with, the defense systems, that really saves lives, saves money, and saves costs. But if you're doing it for marketing purposes and repeating it on outreach, I mean, that's not really something you should be proud of, because it's not going to create a real difference to the world. So if you're in AI, so for example, combining quantum with AI, amazing experience, right? I mean, you can probably process thousands of traffic jams that have happened over a period of so many years, and probably build very solid protocols out of that. You can build very solid defense systems. So I think AI, 99% of the startups are actually using it for very mundane kind of automations, which really will not change your life or mine. I mean, yes, we'll cut short outreach for, instead of reaching 20 people, maybe I'll reach 10 people in a day. Yeah. But if if you can treat glaucoma, using AI, or not treat, diagnose glaucoma 10 years before it can actually manifest itself, that's something that I would be really proud of. So applications in healthcare, in defense tech, in space tech,
Yeah.
are something I really look forward to. But out of 10, only one and a half, two solutions kind of really, break a chord there for me.
Are there any interesting startups in defense tech or in other, even if deep tech is there, that you have come across which they are doing some exemplary work?
Yeah, I mean, defense tech, we kind of helped that startup grow from a team of 3 people to, I think, 30, 35 odd people now. And what they were doing was building dynamic honeypots. So while honeypots usually have been static devices to lure and take hackers away from the main core site, these guys, out of very humble spaces in one of the IITs, built a very dynamic algorithm which used AI to learn how the hackers are also adapting to the systems on the fly, and implementing that for our universities, data centers and all. When you are victim of cyber hacking almost every day from our neighboring countries, and you can
Yes.
diffuse so many attacks right off the bat, that is something we really got excited on. And there are some very good cyber security companies who are doing a brilliant job at it. Data security, for that matter, is also an area that's doing phenomenally well. Unfortunately, the cost of data security solutions, because they're not entirely appreciated in India, the data security piece is not penetrating the Indian markets as much as we would like to. But I think a time will come when we'll realize that we need very solid data security solutions, and there is no middle path to it. Either you have it or you don't have it. I mean,
Yeah.
and then you picked up about healthcare. Healthcare, I'm very excited about the kind of some of the solutions that I've seen. For example, that glaucoma thing I told you about. It can, instead of just looking at your eye physically, these devices empowered by AI can look at almost 10 to 20 times of those parameters at a much younger age and help you over. So, glaucoma by itself cannot be cured, it can only be prevented. So, the sooner you know about your suspect, if you are a suspect of glaucoma, the better you can stay away from it, basically. And this is where healthcare, AI in healthcare is helping, and there are a couple of good companies who are looking at it. Interestingly, the consumer or the clients also have to understand and appreciate that AI is going to help them a lot. So if they are buying some solutions, they might seem expensive right now, but in the end they'll get your work done much faster and will save you a lot of time and costs associated with it. So do take the plunge. Be a little more, you know, risk taking in that sense.
Yeah.
That would really help the AI ecosystem in India to build sooner.
Yeah. And what are some challenges that you see? And these startups, and these are few examples that you just quoted, but I see such absolutely fantastic startups, getting built, growing, and making real impact into the challenges that we are facing right now as a society, be it with hacking, cybersecurity threats and all those things. So what are the some challenges that these companies are facing, be it with funds or otherwise?
So challenges that they face generally are how to get to the market. One is, see, no matter what you do, what you invest, how much money you put in, investments can only help you as much. If your product is not selling at the right price point and is not being appreciated by the customer, then it becomes very difficult for you to sustain yourself, right? So what we see is that startups kind of lose focus on solving the customer problems and putting the right value to it, as in what the solution is about.
Yeah.
They end up pursuing the investors in getting more money into the company and expanding, I mean, in all directions. If they were more, and this should come right at the incubation stage. Whatever you build or whatever idea you have to build, how will you reach the market with it? Right? That should be like ingrained in you from day one. It cannot suddenly dawn on to you once you've built an MVP. Acha, how do I sell it? That's not a question you should be asking there. You should be testing out 10 different ideas of getting to the market and failing and realizing, who does my product touch? Who does my product sell to? And how do I sell it? It should be a learning stuff for you from day one. The kind of product you envisage should also envisage how to sell it right at the start of the bat. So that's one problem. Second is, mostly I see people deviating to many domains when they're building a product, that this serve this domain as well, this domain as well, this domain as well. You cannot sell to every domain. You have to focus on two or maximum three domains to sell it to. Because see, if you are a doctor, I cannot talk to you in a language where I would sell it to a bank's CEO, right? I have to talk to you in your language, in your domain that you would understand. Similarly, if it's such a generic solution, if it's a platform which is very generic and really serves different domains, it's fine. But usually in India, what we see is products being built, right? A box can be sold, only to a finite number of domains, and you don't have the capacity or the bandwidth to pitch to different kinds of customers every day. You at the most, the founders are doing the selling, right? Which means mostly when one is a techie guy, the other one is maybe the marketing and sales guy. How many companies can he go to in a month, right? If he just decides that I'll only focus on maybe selling it to fintechs or selling it to banks, he can make a much bigger dent at least in converting. But if he's selling to banks one day, hospitals the other day, it just doesn't happen that way. So be very focused on the domain that you will be selling to, and it's okay. Rediscover. You could be wrong. You thought it'll be a superstar product in healthcare, but it's turning out to be a superstar product in fintech, for example. Pivot your customer focus to fintechs. I mean, I'm not saying that you should. So there is one thing that's it's called a pull, and the other thing is called a push. If you're pushing to the side, but you're getting pulled from the other side, you should know at what point of time you should concentrate on the pull. You know, how much can
Yeah.
you push to a side? So that so people say the founders should be very stubborn with their idea and all, but I think they have to be a paradox in themselves. They have to have a very strong belief in what they're building. At the same time, they have to be very critical also to look at the markets and see how the market is perceiving them, right? And they have to be egoless there. If they
Mm.
think 10 people are telling them with a reason why the product is not selling, are you
Yeah.
listening to these customers? What are they saying to you? Can you pivot? Can you change? Because Usha, no company that is a unicorn today started out with the same product or the same offering or the same target customer it had incubated itself from, right? So that is a learning you should be taking with a pinch of salt as a founder.
Yeah. And I think that is also an art of what to accept, what to listen to, and what to just park for later,
Yes.
kind of thing that founders need to really have. And
Yes.
you said right, at whatever stage startups are, they have such limited resources. And when they go into like 10 different directions, they are not able to focus on one and, sell and prove their point that yes, either this market is right for them or not. But you need to put at least these many resources to prove if it is working or not, right? Rather than just throwing stones at different directions and praying that it would work.
Right.
Correct. So one thing that whenever I talk to tech startups and specifically deep tech and these ones, they obviously need a lot of funds even while they are building. So what does investors think about and what do they look for in these companies? How can they raise, more efficiently or more earlier?
Well, how can they raise more efficiently? I think the founders or the startup should be very, 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 very focused on giving some results, tangible results. Whether it's a failure or a success, it's fine. But you can't be hanging in the balance that, for example, if your solution has not been accepted by a particular client, even after 9 months of persuasion, it will not work, right? You have to know that. So what kills startups or the products are the slow yeses and even more especially the slow no's. So if I keep asking you to come and demo your product to me and I keep doing it for the next 9 months, your attention span, your efforts, your costs, and all are associated for those 9 months, and you are anticipating me to convert it for you, but it doesn't happen, right? 9 months, you have lost a lot of other opportunities. You've lost a lot of cash flows also, right? So if had I told you on the first week itself that this will not work for me, you would have felt bad, but ultimately you would have moved on much faster, right? So to your question, it really matters about how the clients perceive you and how soon can they take a decision on it. And what was your core question there?
with a lot of these deep tech companies, I also see that they are
Ah,
pre-revenue and then they're trying to raise.
ha. Deep tech companies, I am sympathetic to them a little bit more because the cost of training their systems and using GPUs is major difference between Indian ecosystem and the international ecosystem, right? I mean, for example, I had this company that is based out of Germany. The guys are Indians. One of them is based out of Bangalore. The other one is based out of Germany. And because they are based out of Germany, they are incubated from a university. These guys had direct access to supercomputers and high-end GPUs right from day one, right? At a minimal cost. Like you have maybe AWS credits in India or other such ecosystem credits, and these guys had that. Whereas an Indian company does not have access to GPUs at or at exorbitant prices, where you can't even train your system. So you can only put in layers on top of LLMs and all, but you're not actually training or building LLMs or even SLMs for that matter. So this is one problem that I really feel for my founders, and they're really handicapped there because until that happens, you will only be building on top of some layers and always will be dependent on the the layers that are foundational. And that is the reason that democratizing AI will play a very big role across the world. Because if your AI systems inherently are trained, say in US or other countries, there are always going to be cultural biases in that AI system, right? So
Absolutely.
so your data, their data is not going to cure your problems as in your country or in your culture. So you have to build the ecosystem from the ground up, you know, for because the more we are getting global, the more we are getting localized as well, right? And that has to come in, and that's where the ecosystem has to play a big role. And I'm glad actually recently the government has taken a lot of pains and is collaborating with a lot of the giants out there, including Nvidias and all, in setting up infrastructure where these hardware or infrastructural components can come at a lower cost for the founders, not only for startups but also for the mid-sized enterprises or companies that are transforming their own solutions and going on to the next 4.0 or 5.0 version of themselves. So yeah, that's required.
Right. And when you said democratizing AI, so that means training the models overseas so that the cost of compute is, bearable there.
When I say democratizing, I mean that you have to look at the diversity or the richness and diversity in the areas that you're going to implement your solution at. For example, if I tell you that, the sheer number of dialects you speak in Karnataka are more than dialects that are spoken in any European country, right? So just imagine the richness of data you can train if you had the resources, even inside Karnataka, for example, right? And how much that would help a suburban or a villager and a metro person in that state to get their voices heard, right? So if we can build an equanimity of opportunities through training our systems on diverse set of cultural and diverse data points, the AI systems will be more focused on solving the right problem for the right places or right environments rather than adopting some solution from outside and thrusting it on the local or hyper personalized solutions for that matter. So you have to democratize it, you have to make it more unbiased, you know, and make it more localized in that sense to be selling in that market that you're aiming for.
Yeah. Okay. So, as an investor, when you are looking at different deep tech companies or different tech companies for that matter, and specifically pre revenue ones, are there any specific things that you're looking at, be it with the founder's background or the product's usability, maybe? What exactly, as an investor, are you looking at then?
So yeah, that's a good question because post revenue companies are easier to evaluate because they have something tangible to show, and you can, because it's out there, you can even go and ask their customers, the paying customers, you know, get an idea. But pre-revenue companies, majorly, we as honest investors, we have to do our own research very very well because whatever the founder will tell me, I cannot take it on face value. So what we look for is, yes, absolutely, the background of the invest of the founders. Why is he or she relevant in building that product? You know, what's the first hand experience that they've had or learnings that they have had. We also look at the hunger to succeed, because I know in my heart of hearts that 9 times out of 10 they will fail with their original idea, but can they be adaptive enough to understand what tweaks are needed at what point of time to quickly, evolve your solution. Your vision should be stable, should be static, that I have to build a product for curing glaucoma and eradicating glaucoma in 3 years. Fine, that's a good vision. That's your north star. But for doing that, do you need a device, or can you do it with an algorithm, or can you imbibe some other software product and build a plugin for that? It really doesn't matter to me. If you're solving that problem eventually, or you're working towards that vision of yours, no matter what path you take, as long as it's showing you some light and some logical path to attaining that goal, we are fine with that. So when we look at pre-revenue startups, we look at the founders' experience. Yes, I'll be honest, a little bit of pedigree also, and the interplay between the founders. So, for example, 9 times out of 10, I will reject a single founder company. I will reject a single founder company because I know that, especially if you're founding it in India, there are 1,000 things for you to worry about. You will deviate from your, or you will defocus from your main path of building the product, because you have to care about 10 different other things, right? So if you're the sole guy, I will, unless you convince me like heavily, or there is something that I see that I haven't seen in any other product, or I will 9 out of 10 reject that company. So it has to be a team that has to succeed, and the diversity in the team also, right? We also look at how close to the market are they, you know how soon can they go out, do primary research, pivot, change, tweak. So if you're sitting here in London and building a solution for India, 99.9% I'll reject that outrightly. If you haven't been to India, or you don't have a team in India to give you first hand inputs. So yeah, these are the things we look at. And in more tangible terms, I don't care about LOIs, I don't care about MOUs and all, because these are only bluff papers, I'd call them. If you have 10 customers lined up for you in your subscription list, and they're vouching that if you build me these products, I am ready to push in this amount of money. And if they can show me that commitment from the customers, maybe I'll take a lenient look with them. But yeah, otherwise it's a gamble, mostly pre-revenue. And you have to basically bank on the founders only for that conviction.
With LOIs, I think founders are now obsessed with getting LOIs from whosoever they can.
Yes. And I actually blame it a lot on some of the very leading incubators in the US, in Europe. See, the markets function very differently over there. An LOI is honored, an MOU is honored, right? I mean, it's for them, anything in writing, they make a very honest effort to fulfill that. But in country like ours, I'm sorry, but MOUs and LOIs don't matter at all. I mean, and that is where the abuse starts to happen, right? So you have to be culturally sensitive also of what papers, documents, or promises will work in this region as compared to the other regions. You have to be very wary of it as well, and have to know these markets very, very well.
Right. And so a lot of founders, whenever they talk to me, one of the things that they really want is, even before getting and raising funds, they want feedback on whatever they are building from an investor, a potential investor. And usually they don't, like, even if they pitch, they don't get those feedbacks. So, I mean, what can be the right way of getting those feedbacks for them so that they know that, there is some potential in getting raising funds?
There are two things to this, Usha. Founders, if you had an eye problem, you would go to an eye doctor. If you had a problem in your hand, you will go to the relevant doctor. What happens today is they do carpet bombing of their pitches. They'll go to an event, they'll look at a list of investors, and they'll send their pitch text to every one of them. You have to realize that before you apply, and you're wasting time because you're building your pitches, right? And you are selling it, and we're expecting something to happen. It will not
Yeah.
happen. So you do your research. Who should I apply to as an investment house? What is their thesis? How can they help me? Ask those honest questions to yourself. You should be convinced that whoever you are applying to will actually help you, even if they don't invest a huge amount in you. But can they bring some networks? Can they bring some LPs that could be on the board of your dream companies? What is it? Why would you apply to this VC fund, right? They should do their research on that. Not every VC fund is created equal. Every VC fund has a different thesis, different vision. So know that. Secondly, when you apply, do not expect them to see. You have to be very sure of what you are telling them. Have you
Yeah.
known how you would be solving that problem? Can you say that in flat 45 seconds? If you can't, if you're using a lot of jargon. So because see, every VC person may not be a technical person, or or they may not know about your solution from your domain's perspective. So can you convince even a child, you know, why they should be using a solution? You should be, and you should be knowing who not to sell it to as well, right? Because if you say that, my solution is worth gold for everybody, that's the first red flag I see, that you don't even
Yeah.
know who your market is or who your target profile is. And then you tell me that it's valid for anyone who's coming in. That means you haven't done your research. So the first thing we look at as investors is, who is your target profile? What kind of language can you speak to that target profile, right? And that is, I'm a third umpire there. An umpire there. Okay. So I want to see how you would be interacting with your end customer and what would they be saying. If I can judge that, it becomes easier for me even to say yes or no. But most of them, I mean, instead of exaggerating things and saying who they can be selling to, they should also concentrate on what their weaknesses are, what their gaps are, and who they will never be able to sell to, who are not their customers. Strategy is not about knowing who to sell to, but also knowing what not to do, or who not to sell to.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And so when founders are approaching a lot of investors, what are the things that they can really align, their interests with? For example, one is they need to look at if the investor is actually interested in that thesis or not, right? What is the ticket size that they are actually doing? What are the current, like some portfolios that they have already done? What are the other things that founder needs to really be looking at?
Yeah, they need to look at their VC, the target investors portfolio, which is I think a big thing they miss. Because I mean, honestly, if you could sell to your own college seniors, would you not do that rather? Right? I mean, in that loop itself, you're getting a lot of revenues coming, or you are providing some complementary services to their existing solutions. What for what they have already created a market for, right? For example, you come to me, and I already have a very solid clientele in the defense sector. Now you know that selling any product to the defense sector is a huge timeline, because it has to be tested, the protocols have to be taken adherence of. There are so many regulations. So if I've already created that market for myself, is it not easier for you to just plug in that solution with mine, and we can sell it at 1 plus 1 equal to 11x the value, right? So knowing, not just getting the investment money, ticket size is not enough, because half of the, or even 75% or greater, founders don't even get the entire amount that is promised to them, because if it's milestone based, you will fail at some milestone or something else. So they fail before they even get the entire amount, if that's in tranches. So money can only take you as far. But if you have a really solid pipeline of customers within your own circles, you know that goes a long way, right? So I would look at, obviously, the investors own domain expertise, their thesis, their portfolio, past, present, and maybe even the future, what they are going to be investing in later on. And also their, today, I'll be very blunt, AI is not, no matter what we say, India is not a very heavy consumer of AI or very appreciative of AI. So whatever you're building, if you can build it for the world, a global reach you can have, that would be a strong selling point for you. So look at investors who have those global access points as well with them. And that makes you really sustainable from day one. If you get into that cohort, if you get into that, circle of family of those investors. So these are some of the parameters you should be really looking at.
Absolutely. So you are actually, someone who's already talking to a lot of founders who are building right now. And when they are raising, what are the things that they usually seek and how to find those strategic investors. One of those, like, investors, I think people usually get, they look for, but how to get the strategic investment, which also brings not just capital, but a lot of those network and a lot of growth for this company.
Well, in today's age, information dissemination or information is readily available in the market. I mean, go to social media site. If I were a founder in today's times and I knew who my target profile would be to sell to, but I also knew that I need investments to scale up quickly, I would scourge LinkedIn, I would scourge any other social media website, any other channels that are at my disposal, at my team's disposal, and be so 105% sure that these are top 10 guys I would spend day and night pitching to, right? Let me do my homework in the most earnest way, because whatever I'm doing, training in the gym, as a soldier, whatever time I spend in training, it saves me in losing blood at the war front, right? So
Yeah.
do your extensive research, use every possible tool that you have in researching and finding the right kind of guys to be a part of your journey, than discovering it out on the ground when you are sweating and toiling for that, right? And then go in a very focused way and approach them after doing all your homework. You will fail still, but your probability of success will also increase dramatically. So if I were to pitch to say 100 VC funds without knowing what the thesis is, I'll fail almost 100 once. All the 100 guys, right? But if I knew only 10, which I had done very hard research on and found only 10 relevant folks out of say a sample size of 50, was within that 10, I have a far greater probability that two or three will take me up, right? So it's totally worth my effort to funnel it down to 10 VC houses in a month and approach them. Far greater probability of success. So do your homework very well. I mean, in today's age and times, there is absolutely no excuse for you to go to an investor or to an investment event underprepared. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in networking events also, I see when people are prepared and they know what the other person, the investor, is into and already doing. I think it saves a lot of time, and even investor is suddenly keen on understanding, okay, what you are building. And a lot of these conversations, I feel, are, you just start with something non-work, or just calm down, like the whole energy is normal, so that both are in sharing mode. So that is also something that I have seen working. Do you have any suggestions for these founders?
The universe's formula of detached attachment is very valid in these circles as well. I mean, if you relentlessly start pursuing something, it will start running away from you. But if you then stop and let it come to you and not persuade it consciously, things start to getting attracted to you, right? So you have to have that confidence that whatever I'm building, I don't have to beg and borrow to every investor I am meeting and try to sell to them. It's not how it works. How it works is, so there is one very clear formula for startup success. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And that is, if you can get the customer's word of mouth referral. I mean, no investor can turn that down. Even if it's not in their thesis, but they find that, okay, this guy has 20 customers already. And though it's not my thesis, they actually will accommodate you if they can. If they see that you have 10 guys who have bought it from you. So getting the customer on your side really, really helps. So whatever you're building, don't think about the investors at all. You may never get investment in time. But if you can get 10 solid customers vouching for you who have paid to buy it from you, you have far more greater leverage at the valuation table, right? And see, that is where the detachment comes in. If you tell an investor, like a high-end investor, that boss, I started off with a very broken idea, but I have 30, 35 paying customers within 6 months, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he will not challenge you on the idea, on the execution, on strength of your founding teams. He or she will only look at whatever he said. If he's converted it, I
That
mean,
something is,
yeah,
yeah.
how does it matter what I'm thinking? This guy is making money, right? Let me be a part of his growth journey, his success journey. So
Yeah.
look at what will entice them, right? Not directly, but indirectly. And this customer thing is very, very solid there. And yes, that's people have tried this, they've gotten LOIs and all, but no, 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 not LOIs. Get some real traction happen, get some real, and don't go for. I've seen founders spending lakhs and lakhs of rupees in becoming a part of the sessions, speaker sessions and all, just to showcase that they have arrived. But if your product is all fluffy and no substance kind of a thing, sooner or later you will realize that you're cheating yourself more than anyone else. So build a good solid product that solves the problem. Go to the customer, get it used by him or her. And yes, another thing, do not sell your product for free. Even if you're thinking that it's a 10 rupee worth product and it's going for 5 rupees, but it's still giving you some margins, it's a success. And it's much better than getting promises and building so many replicas of your product, or building so many instances of your product and just doing it for free. So I absolutely reject startups that say we have deployed our solutions in this companies. Okay, are you earning anything out of it? No, sir. This is a pilot project which is not fetching us any revenue. No, it will never get converted into a paid client. You can believe me right now and here, basically.
Absolutely. And I would ask the question that I think a lot of people are asking right now to experts like you who are working in AI and deep tech and all the tech side of things. How do you foresee AI augmenting the whole workforce in the next 5 years?
Okay, so AI is probably making inroads in every aspect of our life, in every domain. However, if you're claiming to solve a big problem for me, but you cannot understand the context of it, AI is of no use to me, right? I mean, just the number of solutions we see that startups are building from the AI viewpoint are actually more superfluous than of any content. Most of them you'll see are building, solutions for a market that does not exist yet, or something. For example, a very prominent productivity suite has built in an AI, embedded in AI in all of its products. Can you believe it? But and this has been a pattern that I've seen. If I use that AI with that product, it takes me a huge lot of time to get to the same result as compared to if I were to feed that to less embedded AI product and get the results. So, I mean, we have a long way to go. 5 years
Yeah.
is a long time to really make a prediction, because see, blockchain never went anywhere, right? I mean, yeah, it is being used, yes, but it never went mainstream. All your NFTs and all, it just poofed out, right? So AI, you have to, and yes, we are at a very nascent stage. Yes, as countries, as cultures, we don't yet know how will we monetize or use AI productively. So it's a
Yeah.
discovering phase, but let's spend more of our energies in actually not thinking of using AI, doing the work more efficiently, and then seeing how AI can fit and help me more here, rather than using AI and imposing it on my solutions. Because if you have a hammer, you will consider everything as nails, right? But if I give you a Swiss knife, you'll start experimenting with that. Okay, will this work? Will that work? So AI has to be thought of as a secondary thing when you're building solutions or when you're solving problems. And then you have to look at how AI can be now used to make my solution much faster and quicker. That does not mean that you do not embed AI in your product from the very first stage. It only means that you should have such a solid understanding in that very stage, that how AI will be making your lives easier, as in solving that problem.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. Like how I see people now with their ideas, existing ideas and great products now, they are just adding AI to it so that it is
For the
much
sake
more
of
efficient. Exactly.
right, right.
And what's next for Anshul, professionally, personally? What you are building? Is there something very interesting that you're building, or what's your next thing?
So great question, Usha. And as we move along, I'm also discovering what is next. I'm very excited to be very frank with you in these new technologies and the era we are in right now. Right? I mean, just look at our parents. They saw progress in terms of tech development and all, say in batches of 5, 7, 10 years. What we are seeing is an improvement every 3 to 6 months, right? I mean, new AI use case coming up, new LLMs coming up, new AI agent coming up. And this is only AI, right? Let's if we look at quantum computing, if we look at other areas of innovation, there is so much happening around the world. So I think I don't really know what the landscape will be in the next 2 to 3 years, but in the immediate future, I do see small use cases if they can be built with a collaboration of technologies to solve problems we never thought could be solved, right? For example, as widely as, can we make space travel? Can we shrink it to hours instead of days? Going to the moon and stuff like that. Or autonomous driving. If that can be implemented safely in India, it would be a major change, right? So these are the problems I'm trying to see who is trying to. So look at defense. The last 2 years, the Indian space tech companies, startups, have done a wonderful job of putting into orbit so many satellites through one payload system. I don't even know the technical terms of it, but just looking at the news items of the last 2 years in space tech will give you goosebumps. How much India has progressed on that front, right? So I'm very lucky to be at the epicenter of a system where I can get to see and get to attend events which talk about various diverse technologies and look at the future from that lens. And also, because I'm sitting, I have no expertise in either area. I am free as a generalist to join the dots and make wild imaginations of how to combine these technologies and then look at how that can be made into a reality. For example, Steve Jobs was not a technical guy, right? He was not even, I mean, calligraphy and all. Okay, I mean, it's a great skill, but does not convert into great products, right? But he was the one who could join the dots very well, as he himself said. So sometimes that ignorance also helps you. You don't know the domains, you just know that this could work very well with this guy, right? So I'm very excited to be at that cusp of things where I see a lot of technologies evolving in diverse domains and playing around with how one could affect the other, and quantum cryptography, quantum mechanics, the very field of quantum computing. You may not realize it today, but it has changed so much in the last two years. I mean, there have been instances of teleportation for 10 meters, 20, 30 meters. Can you just imagine that? How that could change your very perception of living, spirituality, religion, whatnot, right? Space travel, Star Trek, Star Wars, what you saw in your childhood, they could be becoming realities, right?
Yeah.
And yes, another aspect that I would like to touch upon is climate change, environment, and how do we build a future for our next generations, right? And that is something also we have to kind of be very conscious about
Yeah.
and help in whatever small way we can in bettering that as we move along, not worsening it.
Yeah. And I'm seeing a lot of, companies building into sustainability, climate tech. I think we try to help them wherever we can, however we can, because those are the companies making some real changes to the kind of world that we all hope we have one day. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Anshul, what do you think about overall government in India, irrespective of different states? Are there any initiatives towards adapting to AI into, social systems that we see, or are there more acceptance towards what technology can change for them, or is it like the old days, like where they want to stick with just those old time norms and they want to do things how they were and don't want to hear about AI?
Surprisingly, this might, be a very pleasant surprise for you, but from what I've seen, many departments that we go to and pitch to, they are asking about how AI can be embedded, and they're asking genuine questions. How can it benefit my citizens? How can it benefit? How can I be that? How can I leave that legacy behind where AI is benefiting my end customers, which are my citizens? And these are not just questions they ask for the sake of asking, but they kind of drill it into you. For example, there is a department we are working with, and they want OCR reading to be the next level, where it can also analyze and not just be an OCR, but also make it legible to understand what that person had written. Right? That would solve so many other problems. For example, many people in our country. Let's take startups for that matter. When you have applications submitted in English to you, you realize the quality of application that come in from say a metro city to a tier 2 tier 3 city, right? And it always hurts you that I can make out this guy is building something great, but he doesn't know how to articulate that in English, right? So just imagine if you could be doing it at the government level, at the panchayat level, at the grassroots level, if you can be implementing very solid AI solutions for the benefit of the citizens. I think that is again where India will drive the next wave, because the government today is, I think, much more adaptive, much more appreciating of AI or new technologies than I ever have seen before. So yeah, that's something I'm really excited to look at.
Yeah, that's a good news because I think if government really supports, then a lot of startups which are building into AI can really, help them do and achieve those goals much faster. So yeah, I hope we have great times in India with specifically with the tech and AI and deep tech ecosystem that we have.
Yeah, those times are not very far off. I'm not saying that they will be implemented en masse across India, but you will start seeing them getting implemented in very progressive states for that matter, or some unexpected areas where you had almost given up in terms of citizen welfare. And those are exciting things. Those are really exciting things to be happening here.
Anshul, is there anything else that you would like to cover or talk about?
I would just cover how can we as an ecosystem or as small stakeholders in the ecosystem encourage in more better systems. So what I wanna tell is that we should be encouraging our educational system to imbibe new technologies, new methods of teaching and implementing solutions right at the grassroots level. Like for example, after the startup boom, almost every college started to have an incubator, right? I mean, you could see it in any college anywhere. I think what we need to do now is, let's take AI for instance, have AI infrastructure in place in tier 2, tier 3 colleges, education institutions, and you will see the amount of innovation that can come out of there, and the real use cases of AI I think will come out of from these areas, like it came from other initiatives of startups. So I think AI needs to be. I'm just taking AI as an instance, but there could be so many other technologies. But I think we should really harp on building that AI infrastructure at such a low cost for Indian citizens that they can experiment, they can build small solutions, and innovate at scale and at any level that they want to. I think that will be the real big achievement for us in the next 1 or 2 years.
Absolutely. I mean, the grassroots system in India can really change what we have today and the kind of talent that we can have tomorrow. Because I already see such great and brilliant minds even in their teens, like 14-year-old. We are hearing more of that, right? 14-year-old, 16-year-old building such great products already selling and building, seven-figure businesses already when they are not even at the legal age of registering the business. So this is some really, I mean, I also see a huge potential in what you just said, like changing these things at level is something that these schools and colleges, if they pay attention to and put their resources on, that would take the whole country on a different level altogether.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you on this.
Done. So this was all for today. And thank you. Thank you so much, Anshul, for taking out time and sharing your insights. Those have been really helpful and extremely insightful.
Thanks for having me, Usha, and always glad to be of service, especially in the area I love, which is startups. And through your medium and through your, channels medium, I would like to say that keep building, don't get discouraged. Build what's close to your heart, build what makes sense to you, don't be afraid to fail, and seek help at the right time. Don't consider yourself as a lone warrior. Maybe people have done something before you in that same field. So get to know about the world also, and at the same time be focused on what you want to build and seek help whenever required. I'm always available. I mentor a lot of startups out of sheer passion. I mean, I know that half of them will not make it to the next stage, but who knows? I mean, what
Yeah.
what comes up. So yeah, thanks for having me, and hope this makes some kind of dent in the startup ecosystem towards in the positive sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And That's really motivating for founders who are listening. And I'm sure, like, if people are really, they are looking for any sort of support, then you're always there. I've seen you helping founders in whatever way you can. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Usha. Thanks for having me.
Great. So that's a wrap for today. And share this with any other founders that you think would definitely benefit from this. Thank you.
Thank you.